We'll begin our service by singing together hymn number 134, Our World is One World.
One world, what touches us affects us all. The seas that wash us round about, the clouds that cover us, the rains that fall. Our world is one world, the thoughts we think affect us all. The way we build our attitudes with love or hate we make a bridge that wall. Our world is one world, its ways of wealth affect us all. The way we spend, the way we share, who are the rich or poor, stand or fall. Our world is one world, just like a ship that bears us all, where fear and greed make many holes, but where our hearts can hear a different call.
Good morning. Good morning. Whether you're with us on Zoom or you're here in person, we're glad you're here. I'm Roger Jones, pleased to be one of the ministers serving this congregation. My co-minister is the Reverend Lucy Bunch, who will be back with us in a little more than a week. Our preacher today is our member, Allison Claire. Her sermon is entitled Reflections of a Zen Unitarian Universalist. Allison has been a UU in Sacramento for many years, and she brought up her 3 children in this faith, one of whom is with us this morning. And she's a practitioner in the Soto Zen tradition. And just last week, she received lay ordination in a Zen vow-taking ceremony. Blessings on this occasion, and thank you for speaking today, Allison. Celia Buckley is our worship associate, and Tara Benavides is our song co-leader. Anthony, our music director, will be back next Sunday, and he invites you to join the choir for their first rehearsal of the new church year, which will start a week from this Wednesday night. And our pianist is here today, Irina Tchantceva. And this happens to be today is the 5th anniversary of Irina's joining the staff at UUSS. 5 years. If you come up to congratulate her after the service, please wait until she's finished playing the postlude music. If you are new to UUSS, we extend a special welcome, and we invite you to fill out a newcomer's card using either a link on our website or at the welcome table after the service. That will help us connect with you and send you our summer message. It comes out to all of you by email every Friday, and you can find the most recent one on the website on the ministers page. Today we offer our monthly newcomers orientation, which includes a tour of the campus, and it will take place after the service, and it lasts about an hour. All are welcome, and you can meet at the welcome table about 10 or 15 minutes after the service. Childcare will be provided or will continue in the nursery if you need it, and our member, Mary Howard, and I will be leading the orientation today. The order of service, if you'd like to follow along with what's going on, is available on a link on our website, but it's on paper on the table by the door, and you can also pick up the blue sheet with our weekly calendar and upcoming activities on that back table. And there are a bunch of things going on and coming up, which a number of volunteers asked me to highlight, so please let me do a lightning round. Today is the last day to sign up to volunteer with the UUSS volunteers for this coming week for Family Promise at their tiny homes. You can see Elise in the welcome hall near the main doors. You can sign up, or you can get a list of supplies that they need. Also, you cannot miss, right outside these doors, the voter mobilization table. You're invited to stop by and see how you can encourage citizens in other states to cast their votes in November. Today is the first day of registration for our program of small groups known as Soul Matters. Starting in late September, these groups will meet twice a month in person or on Zoom. This much-loved program is intended for people who are new to UUSS as well as longtime members. Debbie Powell, would you rise so people will know whom to talk to after the service? Debbie will be at a table on the patio after the service to answer your questions and give you sign-up information, but you can also look up Soul Matters on our website as well. As you can see by this prop and this prop, next Sunday is our annual T-shirt Spirituality Sunday service. It's a service for all ages, and I hope that you will dress appropriately for church next Sunday. And you can read about that in the weekly message or the website. In October, these naked walls will be covered by art from members and friends of the congregation. The Art Exhibit Committee is going to hold a juried art show of work by UUSS members and friends, and they invite you to submit up to 5 works for their consideration. The deadline is September 8th. The Justice and Equity team invites you to their first movie night to watch together The Wiz, a musical from 1978. There will be snacks and conversation. Conversation will include race and ethnicity in film. And join us a week from this Thursday at 6:30 in the Foz classroom over there. Whew. If I missed anything, you can find it in the blue sheet or in the welcome hall at the connections table or on the patio, along with coffee, tea, and conversation after the service. If you're attending by Zoom, we hope you will stay after the service. There will be time for conversation, about 22 minutes in a Zoom breakout room. Now, please check your cell phone or your watch or any other thing that makes exciting noises, and make sure the alarms are off so that everyone can be more present and mindful during the service. And if during the service a neighbor's device goes off, please be kind and offer them help in solving the problem. Now let's receive our music for centering.
This is my Theo, who's going to light our chalice. And the chalice lighting words this morning are adapted from those of the Reverend William Schultz. We light this chalice in affirmation that every one of us is held in creation's hand, a part of the interdependent cosmic web. And so strangers need not be enemies, and no one is saved until all are saved, where all means all of creation.
Thank you. Our summer religious education program is called Artworks for Peace, and we invite all children and youth who are interested in going to join Crystal and Fletcher there at the door as we sing you out, and we will see you after the service.
Please join me. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Don't give up hope.
Don't give up hope.
You are not alone.
You're not alone.
The way is clear.
The way is clear.
We're here on whatever words. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love.
This is a caring community which we practice by our sharing of joys and sorrows, prayers and hopes at this time. You can let the ministers know of your own news through the Joys and Sorrows link that you can find in Friday's email message, or you can contact the office by Friday. And after I speak of today's Joys and Sorrows, Allison Claire will provide a time of spoken and silent meditation and prayer. This morning, Dirk and Sarah share a joy, which is their deep gratitude to Celia and Marion, who generously gifted us their gently used queen-size Tempur-Pedic bed, allowing us to upgrade from our cramped, worn-out mattress. We are celebrating the greater comfort and better sleep. And we celebrate the children and youth and adult students among us who are starting a new school year, as well as their families and the teachers and school staff in their learning communities. We send good wishes to Dave Rice following knee replacement surgery, and to Karen Sparrow, who is rehabilitating from a broken patella. And our prayers to them are not kneeling prayers, they're just healing prayers. We hold Ted and Renee Scott Feminella in our thoughts, in our hearts, following Ted's cardiac incident last Wednesday, and we send both of them and their children prayers for strength and healing. Terry Ray has asked for prayers for Irina on her dear friend's last days of life after months of treatment for liver cancer. We wish Irina peace and ease. We send care and strength to her and her loved ones at this sad time. And today we're thinking of our member, our departed member, Taylor Lewis. His life came to an end on Thursday evening. He was at home. He was surrounded by love. He was 48 years old. Taylor had been diagnosed with an aggressive cancer last fall, and in spite of its severe pain, he continued to show fierce love and so much joy in life over those months. We join with so many of his friends and co-workers and family members in sharing this grief and sadness. We extend our condolences to his wife, Ilana, and his mother and his siblings, and his 3 adult children, Emily and Jacob and Jarrett. Jacob and Jarrett grew up in this church. Let us pause for a moment of silence to honor Taylor. We love you, Taylor. May you rest in peace. And let us remember that all throughout our community, we are holding joys and sorrows, prayers and hopes, and reasons for gratitude in our hearts.
Please join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation. I invite you to close your eyes if that's comfortable, or at least to soften your gaze, to feel your feet on the ground connecting you to the earth. Just feel the breath moving in and out of your body. Notice the quality of your breath, whether it's shallow or deep, smooth or jagged. There's no right or wrong, no need to change your breath. Just notice it. Feel where your breath goes in your body. Do you feel your breath in your throat, in your chest, your belly? Take it in and let it go. As you breathe in, become aware that you are welcoming into yourself the shared breath of the world. And as you breathe out, extend your gratitude to the wider life that sustains us. Breathing in, I know that I am part of life. Breathing out, I offer thanks to life. Breathing in, I know that I am part of life. Breathing out, I offer thanks to life. Let us breathe together in a few moments of silence. Blessed be.
Please remain seated as we sing together hymn number 83, Winds Be Still.
Winds be still, storm clouds pass and silence come. Peace grace this time with harmony.
Allison has picked a reading that I get to share with you. And the reading is from Peace in Every Step, is Every Step, Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese poet, peace activist, environmentalist, and Zen Buddhist teacher who died in 2022. If you are a poet, you will see clearly that there is a cloud floating in this sheet of paper. Without a cloud, there would be no rain. Without rain, the trees cannot grow. And without trees, we cannot make paper. The cloud is essential to the paper for the paper to exist. If the cloud is not here, the sheet of paper cannot be here either. So we can say that the cloud and the paper interbeing. It's a word that is not yet in the dictionary, but if we combine the prefix inter with the verb to be, we have a new verb, interbe. If we look into this sheet of paper even more deeply, we can see sunshine in it. If the sunshine is not there, the forest cannot grow. In fact, nothing can grow. Even we cannot grow without sunshine. And so we know that the sunshine is also in this sheet of paper. The paper and the sunshine inter-are. And if we continue to look, we can see the logger who cut the tree and brought it to the mill to be transformed into paper. And we see the wheat. We know the logger cannot exist without his daily bread, and therefore the wheat that became his bread is also in this sheet of paper. And the logger's father and mother are in it too. When we look this way, we see that without all of these things, the sheet of paper cannot exist. Looking even more deeply, we can see we are in it too. This is not difficult to see because when we look at a sheet of paper, the sheet of paper is part of our perception. Your mind is in here, and mine is also. So we can say that everything is here in this sheet of paper. You cannot point out one thing that is not here: time, space, the earth, the rain, the minerals in the soil, the sunshine, the cloud, the river, the heat. Everything coexists with this sheet of paper. That is why I think the word interbe should be in the dictionary. To be is interbe. You cannot just be by yourself alone. You have to interbe with every other thing. This sheet of paper is because everything else is. Suppose we try to return one of the elements to its source. Suppose we return the sunshine to the sun. Do you think that this sheet of paper would be possible? No. Without sunshine, nothing can be. And if we return the logger to his mother, then we have no sheet of paper either. The fact is that this sheet of paper is made up only of non-paper elements. And if we return these non-paper elements to their sources, then there can be no paper at all. Without non-paper elements like mind, logger, sunshine, and so on, there will be no paper. As thin as this sheet of paper is, it contains everything in the universe in it. Generosity, it's a spiritual practice, and this congregation has a practice of giving away half of every Sunday's offering to an organization that is working to make a difference in the world. Our community partner for the month of August is Loaves and Fishes. Loaves and Fishes is the largest service provider in Sacramento for the unhoused. For over 40 years, they have provided warm meals, essential survival supplies, and services for nearly 1,000 adults and children every day. To keep their services barrier-free, they do not solicit or accept government funds and are supported instead by the investment of individuals and private donations. Thank you for your generosity to UUSS and to our community partner. This morning's offering will now be given and received. As the ushers come forward, please join me in speaking our unison response. You know it. May generosity bless our world, and may gratitude nourish our spirits.
So this time last week, I was at the San Francisco Zen Center for a ceremony in which I formally entered the stream of Zen Buddhism. I received this rakusu, which I'll tell you about, as part of the ceremony. It represents my formal commitment to the path of Zen practice, and more broadly to what Buddhists call the Bodhisattva way. This morning, I want to share with you what that means to me and what it has to do with Unitarian Universalism. I've been a UU for going on 30 years, and for a long time, I described myself as a UU whose spiritual practices and worldview were both earth-based and Buddhist. I'd been interested in Buddhism since my teens, and for decades I was what you might call a free-range Buddhist. I explored widely and borrowed like a magpie from various traditions. I read a lot of books and took meditation classes, but I never aligned myself with any particular school or lineage of Buddhism. I was and still am particularly interested in socially engaged Buddhism, which I knew was a thing since the 1980s when I went to jail for anti-nuclear civil disobedience alongside members of the Buddhist Peace Fellowship. And my eclectic Buddhist practice fit very well with my Unitarian Universalism, because here we honor all wisdom traditions and encourage the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Unitarian Universalism and Buddhism have several core commonalities which have always made the fit a very natural one for me. For one thing, both traditions are non-theistic, meaning you may believe in God or not, but the faith that brings us together isn't a particular shared faith in a supernatural power. It's the faith in our ability to discover truth for ourselves and in the value of doing that in community. A second commonality is a belief in the fundamental goodness of people, or at least in the innate human capacity to wake up to the goodness of our own true nature and our fundamental connectedness. In both traditions, the harm that people do to each other, including the true evil that humans are capable of, is understood as the consequence of failing to recognize that true nature and that true interconnection. A third commonality between UUism and Buddhism is that we're primarily concerned with how to live right lives in the here and now, rather than being focused on an afterlife. And fourth, both faiths encourage questioning rather than requiring the acceptance of dogma. Buddha himself told his disciples, "Don't take my word for it. Test these teachings, verify them for yourself against your own experience." Most importantly for me, both Unitarian Universalism and Buddhism emphasize interdependence as the basis for a life of compassion and service. The passage that Celia read by Thich Nhat Hanh is a beautiful expression of the Zen understanding of interdependence, which is a very radical understanding. The basic idea is that nothing exists, literally, nothing exists independently of its context, and the context is always, to borrow Bill Schultz's words, all of creation throughout space and time. Now, back in my free-range Buddhist days, I honestly never felt particularly drawn to Zen. I had been influenced by some Zen teachers and writings, Thich Nhat Hanh in particular, but I had never set foot in a Zen practice center or a Zen temple, nor had I wanted to. I had this idea, which in retrospect was 100% a stereotype, that Zen was a particularly rigid and hierarchical form of Buddhism. And that is not interesting to me. Then, as fate would have it, a little over 5 years ago, I fell in love, and the woman I fell in love with was a Zen priest. And suddenly I had this opportunity to see Zen close up and experience it for myself. And what I saw with my own eyes and felt in my own body was nothing like my preconceptions. Zen offers a radically simple style of meditation that really appealed to me. It also has a philosophical side and a literary side, and I love all that. But the core of its appeal for me was that Zen is a profoundly embodied practice. in daily sitting meditation and walking meditation, we experience being fully alive in the present moment in this body. In going about our daily lives, we manifest our practice through our bodies. And that emphasis on embodiment really appealed to me. Also, and this was the clincher, I love ritual. It's a form of embodiment, and boy, do Zen Buddhists get ritual. Bowing, chanting, moving together as one body in services, I love that. And the first time I got to experience a Zen service, it felt like my whole body was a bell ringing and ringing. And I knew I'd come home. Coming home to Zen, luckily, does not mean leaving Unitarian Universalism, right? I used to be a UU with a Buddhist perspective, and now I can say I am 100% Buddhist and 100% UU. There is no contradiction. The Dharma wheel is up there on the red banner on our wall as one of the traditions we honor here. And being 100% Buddhist and 100% UU, I should say, is a description I borrow from my Zen teacher, who is herself both a Zen priest and a UU minister. Does make her the perfect teacher for me. So in last Sunday's service, which is called Jukai, my teacher gave to me, as we say, meaning that she passed on to me as they had been passed on to her by her teacher, the Bodhisattva precepts. I'll tell you what those are. And I received the precepts, and I vowed to uphold them. So a bodhisattva is someone who practices, follows a spiritual path, not just to attain enlightenment for themselves or to transcend the world of suffering, but to help all beings awaken and achieve liberation. The bodhisattva, according to the ancient Buddhist mythology, is someone who literally chooses to remain in the world for as long as there are suffering beings. To use the ancient language, the bodhisattva chooses not to cross over, to leave this painful, messy world for nirvana, not to cross over until all beings can cross over together. It's just like Bill Schultz said in the words of our chalice lighting, no one is saved until all are saved, and all means all of creation. That's the bodhisattva way, as described by a UU. It means a life dedicated to compassionate action for the benefit of all beings, human and non-human, plants and animals, mountains and rivers. In Zen services, because this bodhisattva ideal is so core, we regularly chant the 4 great bodhisattva vows, which are, in one translation, beings are numberless, I vow to save them. Delusions are inexhaustible, I vow to end them. Dharma gates, that just means opportunities to encounter the truth. Dharma gates are boundless, I vow to enter them. The Buddha's way is unsurpassable, I vow to embody it. Okay, those things are clearly impossible, right? We are vowing to do impossible things, but they're only impossible if you think that the point of a vow is to achieve a goal. And I think that's a misunderstanding. I am vowing not to accomplish these things, but to live my life to the best of my ability, one moment at a time, one action, one word, one intention at a time, in service of freedom for all beings, clarity for all beings, and the transformation of suffering. Another key point about these vows is that all beings includes ourselves. So when I say that I vow to save all beings, I'm not dedicating myself to perpetual codependency, right? I'm not promising to save all beings at my own expense. It's more a vow, in my favorite translation, to awaken with all beings. I actually put with all beings on the cake for the reception that followed followed my Jukai ceremony to remind us that that's what the vows mean. And the precepts which I received in this ceremony are ethical principles to guide conduct as we try to live our lives as good bodhisattvas. The Zen precepts aren't commandments. I think of them as more like lenses that we use to discern appropriate responses to the challenges that come up in daily life. There are 16 of them. I'm not going to go through them all. The point is that they address basic ethical principles like non-harming, telling the truth, taking only what's given, refraining from various kinds of self-centered action, and taking action that serves connection. Jukai, the name of the ceremony, literally means receiving the precepts. And you can consider it an initiation ceremony. We call it lay ordination. And not only did I receive the precepts and vow to uphold them, but I received this beautiful rakusu, which you can see close up afterwards if you come to talk to me. It's a smaller version of Buddha's robe, which we call the robe of liberation. And rakusus are worn by Zen monks, lay practitioners, and priests alike, kind of the same way that ministers wear stoles to symbolize that the person who has been ordained is committed to ministry and to service. I sewed this rakusu, as we all do, by hand, myself, over a period of many months, following a rice field pattern that is centuries old. And when I was done sewing it, I gave it to my teacher, and she took it and put calligraphy on the back that is against my chest. And then it was presented to me in the ceremony. I love its rice field pattern, and I love that the panels are sewn together in what looks like a patchwork. The stitches are visible, making the interconnection of the pieces the point. Traditionally, Buddhist robes of all kinds were sewn from old rags that had been collected, cleaned, dyed, and then pieced together. And to me, this suggests something even more radical and beautiful than the transformation of something dirty and discarded into something sacred. See, in Zen, there is no separation between the sacred and the profane. There's no duality in general. So the rakusu illustrates this. There is nothing dirty and nothing holy. There is no perfect stitch, and there is no imperfect stitch. Everything about it is just as it is, unlimited by the mind's tendency to categorize and put labels on things, because categories and labels separate this from that, self from other, which is what brings us back to interdependence. From a Buddhist perspective, interdependence means no separation of this from that, self from other, cloud from paper. Interdependence means not only that we need each other and affect each other, which we do, but that we are literally not separate. We can't exist without each other. And so the structure of my rakusu with its interconnected pieces and visible stitches reminds me both of my vows and of interdependence every time I put it on. I think that living as a bodhisattva is a natural expression of interdependence. When I really get it that you and I aren't separate, compassion for your struggles comes naturally. It bubbles up like water in a spring. When I know I am not separate from the mountains and the rivers, of course I'm going to do what I can to protect and heal them. When I really know that I am not separate from the people who are being swept from their encampments or the children being bombed in Gaza, of course I want to do whatever I can to ease their suffering. Both Buddhism and Unitarian Universalism emphasize that compassionate action and service follow from the principle that we're all part of one another. The seventh principle in our old UU formulation of shared values, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we're a part, really sealed the deal for me when I was checking out Unitarian Universalism. I heard those words and I thought, whoa, that's so Buddhist. And in our new graphic representation of our UU values, which I know Roger spoke about just a couple of weeks ago, love is at the center, and interdependence is one of those core values that extends from love like the petals of a flower. That's very moving to me, and the centering of love is what keeps me so connected to Unitarian Universalism. We talk about love more here in UU churches than we do in Buddhist contexts, although the principle is very much present there as well. Still, as a UU Buddhist, I have to say, if I were making my own personal mandala, interdependence would be at the center. Because it's more than just a value that I have as a human being. To me, it's the basic nature of literally reality itself. And it seems to me that love and justice and equity and all of those shared principles, all of those attributes of human experience that we value, follow from the fundamental truth of interdependence. You could say that those are the ways interdependence manifests itself in the realm of human experience. Luckily, we do not have to decide today which comes first, love or independence, interdependence. It's like the chicken and egg. The point is that each implies and includes the other. And it's in that relationship between love and interdependence that I feel the deepest invitation to keep exploring more deeply what it means to interbe. In my Jukai ceremony, I was asked over and over again whether I would continue to uphold the Bodhisattva precepts until all beings awaken together. And over I recited the words, yes, I will. The most basic Bodhisattva commitment is to say in each moment, whatever the circumstances, yes, I will. Yes, I am willing to be present with whatever is going on right now. I am willing to be present with my heart open and undefended and my hands available to do what needs to be done. It's about a show up, not necessarily to fix or rescue, but to show up with an intention to be of benefit if I can, to show up for the lived experience of interdependence. That's how a bodhisattva saves all beings, by saying yes. And I invite you to say yes with me by rising in body or spirit and joining us in singing Just As Long As I Have Breath.
Still I kept on loving you.
prepare to extinguish the chalice, please join me in speaking our shared intention. You know it. We extinguish this flame, but we carry the light, love, and commitment of this gathering into the days to come.
Let us go forth in the faith that we are all part of an interdependent cosmic web, that no one is saved until all are saved, and that all means all of creation.